All right, well, I'm excited today. We get to talk with Travis Apple, who spent a lifetime in professional sports, all throughout the East Coast, from the league level, team level, and excited to learn more about his journey. So, thanks for joining me, Travis.
No, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm excited for it.
I wish I would have worn my suit now, though, that you have your suit on. That's the one thing. It's like about 10 years ago, I got introduced to custom suits. And ever since, I didn't mind wearing suits. Prior to that, I hated to wear suits. So,
yeah, I think it's kind of my shtick in this business now. I've always been a big suit, shirt and tie guy. And, I always kind of joke, when I have these or Zoom calls, I always like to throw a suit on, one, to make sure it still fits. But two, it's like I've spent a good amount of money on these suits and ties. I want to get something out of them.
I mean, does it button? Can you button it still?
Yeah, okay. I can still button. I haven't put the COVID-19 on yet.
Are you wearing shorts though? Is the question.
Nah, I thought about that. The old ESPN. I got my tearaways. I got the full outfit. I make sure my shoes still fit, and
nice.
I want to be ready to go.
I did. I had a job interview through Skype a bunch of years back, and I was like, do I wear shorts? And I was like, what the hell if I have to stand up or something?
Yeah.
So I decided not to. So that's a good rule of thumb.
Yeah, exactly.
So kind of walk us through a little bit of your background, from when you got into the industry all the way up to where you're at now.
Yeah, so I grew up in Ohio, went to a small school, D2 school in Ohio. I like to say it's the Harvard of Ohio. It's called Ashland University. And, throughout there, and I triple majored there, I ended up getting an internship at a racetrack. And that was kind of my first experience of sales. And, back when interns didn't get paid, and started making money. It was really cold calling, between cold calling and cold walking. I was canvassing, going door to door, and started making some money, which was exciting. And so right out of college, it was one of those things, you know what, I've got a chance to move away. Let's do it. To be honest, I didn't really know this business existed, but had a friend that knew somebody that worked in the Hawks organization, the Atlanta Hawks and Thrashers. And so I remember, going in there, seeing a job posting, reaching out to her. She said, I forwarded your resume to this guy named Corey Breton. So I said, okay. And, I was impatient. I mean, this was March of my senior year. And so I was so impatient that I said, you know what, I'm going to call him. So I literally snail mailed my resume to him, and then called the front desk, asked for him, left a voicemail. The next day left another voicemail. And I'm sure he would still tell you that, I annoyed him enough to finally have a call. So right after college, the day after I graduated college, moved to Atlanta, Georgia, with some clothes. That was about the extent of it. So, and started my journey, which has been a fun journey in this industry.
Did you grow up in Ashland as well, or what part of Ohio were you
in? I grew up in Northwest Ohio, a small town called Delphus, 6,500 people, very farm town. It was about 2.5 hours from Ashland.
Okay. I didn't grow up. I lived in Canton, Ohio for 7 years. So.
Okay. Yeah, so Ashland's about an hour from there.
Yeah, I've been to the college before, so that's cool. What was that like, going from a small town in Ohio to Atlanta, which is a huge city?
Yeah, it was a culture shock, to say the least. I was growing up going on Route 30 or Route 75 through Ohio and through cornfields to getting downtown Atlanta with the 285. Ended up living in College Park and loved it. But it was certainly a culture shock, and at the time, when you're 21, 22 years old and you're making a little bit of money, you've got everybody and their brothers still coming down to visit. So it was, kind of my house down there was a revolving door, but it was a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. And, I worked around a lot of really good people who are great friends of mine today and great mentors of mine.
So you basically just started entry level there, and
yep.
How long were you there for?
Started in inside sales, and, we were selling the Atlanta Hawks and then the Atlanta Thrashers. And so, as I'm sure most people in this business, you kind of keep track of your records. The Thrashers had made the playoffs right before I got there. We had the NHL All-Star game my first year, and went out in the first 7 games of my career. They lost, and then they fired their coach. So that was like, here, welcome in.
Right. But, now go sell some tickets, please.
Yeah, exactly. Go sell it. And, which was funny, you think about a lot of people in this industry want to get in it and say, well, I'm just not a big basketball fan, or I'm not a big hockey fan. The first NHL game I'd ever been to in my life was on my interview. for a Thrashers game. So I went to a Thrashers game. It happened to be a playoff, the first round playoff game versus the New York Rangers. And I go in, it's a Saturday and the arena is just crazy. I mean, it's just sold out. They called it Blue Land, fun atmosphere. The next day I go to an Atlanta Hawks game. I'm still in Atlanta on a Sunday afternoon game when the season was coming to a close. The team was not very good. And I bet there were 6,000 people there. So on one end, it was like, they could use me. Now I got to figure out how to sell it. Right. And so I went down to Atlanta. Again, great mentors, Bernie Mullen, who owns and operates the Aspire Group, was the president of the team. Lou DiPaoli, who's the EVP of the Mets, Brendan Donahue, Chris Zaber, Corey Breton, list goes on and on. Great people there. And so worked my way up through inside sales, new business, and then premium seating, and was being the team leader for inside sales. So I spent 2.5 years in Atlanta and really loved it.
Was you mentioned Donahue, right?
Yep.
Was he, what role was he in there?
So he was the vice president of ticket sales.
Okay, because then he was with Teambo and then with the 2K League, right?
Yeah, so it was interesting. So BD and I both left the Hawks, about a week apart. He went to Teambo, I went to the Pittsburgh Pirates, and I remember, you talk about relationships, and I remember having a good conversation with him. He said one day we'll work together again. And at that point in time, I was 24 years old. I didn't know. I hope so. I really liked him. And then, fast forward, quite a few years of my career, I got a call when he was at Teambo and, brought me in to oversee the ticketing world of Teambo, traveling around to NBA, WNBA, and G League teams, which I know we'll get to. But, and then ironically enough, I remember getting a call from him. I was on the road. I'll never forget. I was in the Salt Lake airport and BD calls me and says, "Hey, just giving you a heads up. You're going to have a new boss. I'm transitioning." I'm like, "To what?" He's like, "The commissioner of the 2K League." What is that? Like, people are going to pay and people are watching other people play video games. And then now that business has taken
That's unreal. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to learn that. I have a 16-year-old, so he teaches me a little bit. This is our little Joker gaming.
Oh, nice.
That we're working on together.
Got the great branding.
Yeah. Got to get the product placement out there.
Yeah, it is crazy. You think about it, right? When we were growing up and going to college, you would have never dreamed of telling your parents, "Hey, I'm going to go and I got a scholarship to play video games." But now all these colleges have these e-gaming scholarships. And then, hey, I work for a sports team, and I was excited because I was in entry-level sales, making $8 an hour and commission, no benefits. Now people are making a good salary and getting moved to the city to play, 2K. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. Well, how was it transitioning from Atlanta then back to Pittsburgh? I mean, Pittsburgh is going to be more like Ohio, I think, in just almost every area, except it's still a bigger city. But how was that transition?
Yeah, it was great. You talk about when you take opportunities, my advice to everyone is it's all about the people you work for and with and alongside. What is the opportunity and can you make an impact? So, prior to me joining the Pittsburgh Pirates, Lou DiPaoli, who's now at the Mets, and Chris Zaber had both joined Pittsburgh. And they called me to come up and kind of run their inside sales program initially. And it was one of those things that, hey, you know what, in Atlanta, I'm the top salesperson here. I've got a lot of credibility. I'm next in line to be a leader. But I felt like it was one of those things somewhat out of my comfort zone. It's somewhere I felt early on in my career that I could build a new network within Major League Baseball. I felt like I had built a decent network in the NBA, NHL world. And it was an opportunity for me to do something different. And, I knew staying in Atlanta, which I would have loved, I still have great relationship with everybody there, that, they've already put that program on the map. Pittsburgh baseball at the time really wasn't known for their business side or their sales side. A lot of Major League Baseball teams at the time, going back, this is, late 2009, they didn't even have inside sales, a lot of Major League Baseball teams. So I knew it was something that we could really, take on and really build something special. And so I went up to work for Lou and Chris, ended up spending 3.5 years there. Worked my way up to oversee premium new business and inside sales. But what a great experience. I look back at, we were able to hire a lot of really good people that have went on in this business, in this industry, to do a lot of really good things. And just, it was fun because, my first year there, I'll never forget, we ended up losing 105 games, but we were mathematically eliminated, I think, a week after the All-Star break. So if you think about baseball and the sales cycle, you're ready to kick off new sales campaigns August 1st. And by the time we were launching that campaign, we were already mathematically eliminated. At the time, I think, we somehow won a few games at the end. I think we were on pace to lose 115 games or so, but still able to have success, So I was there for the 18th, 19th, and 20th straight losing seasons, but you know as well as I do in this business, it all comes down to control what you can control. Yeah. And so that's what we focused on. We focused on getting face-to-face, having trained and developed sales team members to really be elite. And, it was a lot of fun. And so, yeah, spent 3.5 years there. We set a lot of records both for Pittsburgh and Major League Baseball. And then, got the call to go down in the Orlando Magic, which was fun, and it was – you talk about, timing or wrong timing. So when I got down to the Magic, the arena was a couple years old now, the new Amway Center, that you're obviously familiar with being in your backyard there. But, Stan Van Gundy had just got fired. Dwight Howard just moved on. And, we had the second overall pick. So my second week there was the draft. We drafted Victor Oladipo. But, it was a fun experience, and then on the flip side, the Pirates, when I left, was the first year they made the playoffs. So it was one of those things like as soon as I left.
When that happened?
As soon as I left, they got good.
It's like, come on.
Yeah. But, and it was a great experience for me. I went down, that was the first time in my career that I took a role that I really didn't know the people I was going to work for, and Charlie Freeman and Michael Ford and Chris Dorso. And they were great, because they looked at the business just in a different light, and a different perspective. And so really kind of taught me a lot, as opposed to just continuing to learn from the same people. I already took what I had learned and what I known from that and really brought in a, kind of a new perspective of the business.
Yeah. And I think the NBA though, just does a really good job just with, training and developing, talent.
Yep.
You just see so much. And, you've been in it for a while in all these leadership roles. I always look at it. It's almost like the coaching tree, how like you look at these Super Bowl winning coaches and then where everybody, I kind of look at the front office the same way. And it's for me, it's really rewarding when you see these people that maybe were like an intern or that, whatever, they've worked their way up and now they're in leadership roles. And for me, that's really fulfilling and rewarding. So.
And I think I completely agree with that. It was one of those things is, I've told a lot of people this, when you get into leadership, no longer are you necessarily controlling your own destiny, right? As a sales professional, as a sales team member, you can make more calls, set more appointments, make more sales, and that kind of controls your destiny. You get into leadership, now you've got to understand, you got to hire the right people, train, develop, onboard. But then more importantly, like your legacy is what that tree is, and I think that's what I've been very fortunate to work with a lot of great people and have a lot of great people work for me that has helped me kind of put my name on the map in this industry just for the sheer fact that we had a lot of really good people that did a lot of great things and then they disperse and go to other teams. And it's like, well, where'd you come from? Oh, I came from this team. Oh, this person was the leader. And that's what kind of puts your name on the map.
Yeah. Yeah. No, it's really cool to see. And, you've had some good roles that I'm sure that tree is spread out across the whole country. I always looked at it too, because in my role, I owned a lot of minor league sports teams. So I looked at it the same way for the players. So it's like, now for, let's just say indoor soccer, which I've owned for almost 10 years, there's like almost a player on every team in the league that has played for me at some point.
That kind of came through.
And so it's really, it's cool. And then you have all your, your people that you have mutual respect for in the industry that, you're competing with on, the ticket side, like,
right.
What team's going to be number one?
On the business side, you go back and you have league meetings, no matter what league you're in, you always want to have an award. You always want to be represented in, one of those presentations because it shows, what, the time and effort and resources that we as a team spent together, we've had success. And, a lot of people say like, what has been, what's always the most memorable experience of your career? And I think that's it. When you go on and, I look at LinkedIn and, or somebody will shoot me a text, hey, I just got promoted. Hey, I'm now the executive director, I'm the vice president, or I'm a director, like, and almost kind of looking back of like when they started their career, like, holy cow, I don't know if this person's going to get out of inside sales. Right. And now look how far they've grown and, have evolved in their career path. And it's, it's a great, and that's what I think makes this business so fun. Because you look at this and people ask this all the time, right? It's like, it's a lot of long hours. It's a lot of nights. It's a lot of weekends. It's a grind. It's not easy. You're not selling a necessity.
Right.
But the reason a lot of people stay in it like us is because it's so much fun.
Yeah.
You have such a fun, you build so many good relationships, and in sales, you can control your own destiny.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So you've kind of your the first half of your career, we'll call it, has been with teams that, were not playoff bound or really performing on the field or a court. So how do you still, produce on the sales side? And, I know at the minor league level, it's the experience and we can sell that. At the major league level, I know that, that affects the bottom line a little bit more than it will at the minor. So what did you do to, have that success with those teams?
Yeah, it's always funny. And for anyone that's in this industry, I always recommend keep track of your records. I have an Excel list, and I have about a 385 winning percentage. And a couple of my winning teams were when I was the vice president of sales and service with the Suns. We also had the Mercury and the WNBA and the Arizona Rattlers. So we had some playoff teams. So it kind of
the Rattlers boosted you up. They only lose a game.
My wins, But it's a great point. I think it's always good advice that I give to people as well. Like in this business, like, hey, it doesn't matter what sports, whether you're a diehard fan or not, doesn't matter if the team is good or bad. What is the opportunity, right? And I've been fortunate to spend, my career in spaces that have opportunities, to sell premium inventory, to sell suites, to sell inventory in general. And I think it all comes down to effort, in my opinion. For those of you who know me, and hustle and effort is a big key. I think it's sales is a numbers game. The harder you work, the more you spend time, focusing on your craft, the better off you're going to be. And so I think regardless of that, because you're selling the experience, nobody, not too many people remember who won or lost, 6 months ago at a game, or even pre-COVID time. What they remember is their experience, and that's where you can help control it. So, I think and when a team's not very good, I'd really look at it as a challenge. The way I looked at it is, hey, if I'm going to that next role and they see something on my resume and they see a team that wow, that team's never been good. Yeah. And he was the top producer, or he or she did this, or he or she did that. That's another way to put your name on the map as a sales team member. You had success there. Hey, look, we think our team's a little bit better on the field or on the court or on the ice. You're really going to be able to take it to the next level here. Oh yeah,
no, that's for sure. When did you stop selling and just have leadership roles 100% of the time?
Yeah, I mean, I think the easiest answer to that is you never stop selling, right?
Okay.
As you've been a part of that, where I stopped having the daily sales goal was when I left Atlanta to go to Pittsburgh. But that's why I always tell people is there's a big difference between going into management or leadership. There's too many people that I want to get into management because I don't want to cold call anymore. Well, if you think about it, you really want somebody, you want to work for people that are leaders, that are leading by example and that aren't afraid to make those cold calls, aren't afraid to go on those appointments. And, you think about leadership, you're always going to be selling because you need to sell to the individual to come work for you, to be trained and developed, to come work for your organization. And then you better believe it, when that nut and, that bottom line, that big number out there is, on your head. If there's some sales meetings, you better be gone on them because, if you can help close the deal, by all means, that's going to help you. So, yeah, I mean, I think, the day-to-day selling process as far as cold calls and appointments, stopped when I transitioned to Pittsburgh. But I feel that's always continued for my career.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's important too. I mean, I know when I jumped up to Virginia, the sales team was struggling. They couldn't sell. Literally the partnership side had no sales in the last 4 months. The ticket sales were okay, but it just took going on meetings with them, building their confidence back up and helping them. So, definitely, I don't think it ever really stops, but more so from you're not making 50 calls. You're not, it's more about building up the team and
putting them in
that common
giving
goal.
a blueprint to be successful. And, that's what I've always told all of my leadership teams. And that's what I'd recommend to any leader is like, you should never be telling a sales team member to do something that you're not willing to do. And that can start at the basics. Like when it comes to select a seats, you should be out there tagging seats right alongside the sales team members or the interns, right? When it comes to working sales table, if somebody leaves, you should be able to step right in and work a sales table to the elite level. And I think that's the big thing that I've always taken pride on in myself and my career is I'm never going to ask somebody to do something that I can't do. And that I'm not willing to do as well. Cause I think it does go a long way.
Oh, it definitely, gets the respect of the team, once they know that you're all in, you're going to roll your sleeves up. So how was the transition? So you were out in Phoenix as the vice president of ticket sales and service. So you go from, the team side and now you're going back to the NBA league side for the first time. How was that transition and, the dynamics of team versus league?
Yeah. I mean, I think, going back and when Brendan called me about it, at first it was like, I don't know, I'm really happy and excited about, what we're building here in Phoenix. I've been there a couple of years. And then when he's like, hey, look, we're going to create this role. And I remember asking him, why is this position the right fit for me? He's like, look, your vertical in your career has been the ticketing and premium route. This will give you exposure to all the other verticals in this business. And if, you want to lead a team, be a president of a team one day, a CEO of a team one day, you need to learn these other verticals. And I think that was the biggest thing. My main role at Teambo was to travel around each week to NBA, WNBA, and G League markets, share best practices, and, train and focus on driving revenue in the ticketing and premium space. But while you're there, you're meeting with sometimes ownership groups, CEOs, presidents, VPs of marketing, VPs of analytics, of digital, of sponsorship. So just being engaged in those conversations and dialogue just really helped me, to be honest, it put me in an uncomfortable situation sometimes, because I used to be, when I go in and talk sales, I've been, a lot of part of ticketing. I'm not an expert by any means, but I can, kind of speak it.
Right.
When I get into these conversations about, finance or marketing or digital assets, it's something I'm just not as comfortable with. So it's a lot of learning and it really stretched me. And so it was such a great experience. You see, there's a long list of people that have come from Teambo that went on to do a lot of great things. There's still people at Teambo that are doing great things. And, the NBA, as you said, has always been a very well-run league. And I think everybody looks at the NBA as like, this is a number one business operator. And so really I took a great experience from it, loved it, had a great time doing it, which ultimately led me to, to Miami at the Marlins for a couple of years.
And when you're with Teambo though, I mean, that was extensive travel, wasn't it?
Yeah. So at one point in time, there was a year that I'd spent 220 nights in a hotel. So it was a lot of travel, a lot of flights. When I first started, I was still living in Arizona. So I'd fly the red eye Sunday night, land at JFK, shower, head to the office, then head out for the week. But yeah, you were typically on the road, Monday to Thursday, Tuesday to Friday each week. But it was great. I think the one thing that, you talk about your network, I think I really expanded my network during that time because your counterparts to a point, but now you're getting to know everybody within that organization. So yeah, it was a great experience, a lot of travel, but a great learning experience.
I was going to imagine
challenge myself.
Learning from all those teams, all those others, what's successful, what's not. I mean,
the good, the bad, the ugly, right?
Yeah. I'm sure there's some ugly in there too.
And they always say, as you get closer to the sun, the hotter it is at times. And I think, diving into that, you start understanding like, all right, here's what some of these ownerships, these owners are looking at. Here's what some of these CEOs and presidents are looking at. And, here's kind of maybe why they're doing it. So how can you assist to make sure they're managing up and giving the most detail they can?
Yeah. So how did the Marlins come about then? Was that just because you were in that Teambo position and been in Major League Baseball before?
Yeah. I think anybody that's ever worked for Teambo or at Teambo, it's consistently you're getting opportunities presented to you. And I knew, going through Teambo that it had to make the most sense for me. It had to be, the right people, the right opportunity, the right location. And, the Marlins came about. A couple of my, mentors in this business came calling me and said, hey, this is a job you should be open to. With Derek Jeter just buying in, Chip Bowers is the president, and ended up saying, you know what, this makes a ton of sense. This is a cool opportunity. Hey, Florida is a place personally I want to live. I enjoy it down here, and I knew I had the opportunity. So over the couple of years I was there, we were able to make a huge impact. We were top 10 in the league in new FSCs. We were able to bring in a lot of great talent that some are still there. Some have transitioned to other opportunities that are killing it. So it was a great experience. It was one of those things in Miami, as in the Florida market, it's a tough market, but really understanding the value of B2B selling and immersing yourself in the marketplace and community. So it was a lot of fun. And again, another great experience with a lot of great people.
Why do you think it's such a challenge in Florida or South Florida specifically? I mean, it's like, man, I love going to games there. Number one is I love the stadium. I know a lot of people there don't like it. I like it. It's indoors. It's kind of intimate. It's newer, but every time my wife and I would go to Key West, we would typically drive. We'd stop in Miami, maybe check out a game, and then drive down. And so I know Florida's tough in general, just sports, but Miami has just been tough with all the teams.
Yeah. I've thought about this a lot because, of the several teams I've worked for, you look at Miami, you look at Atlanta, Orlando, Phoenix, they're all transient markets. Pittsburgh was the only one that kind of had your local and your diehard fans. They were telling in Pittsburgh because we don't like the team or the team's not any good. Truth be told, like in those other four markets and specifically Miami, you hear a little bit about team performance, but more majority of your objections are, I've got other things to do with my discretionary or my entertainment dollars. You've got the beach, you have golf courses, you have resorts, you've got, other sports entities. There's a lot of competition. I would even look at, in Miami or even those other markets, like the competition wasn't necessarily here in Miami. It's not necessarily the Heat, the Dolphins, the Panthers. It's everything else you do that, I remember being in Orlando, Disney was a big competition because you buy a Disney season ticket pass and it's literally good for 365 days a year. You buy an Orlando Magic season ticket, you're talking 44 games. And so, now you're competing for that, that discretionary income. And so, I think it's a little bit of that, but I do think there's a lot of opportunity in those markets, specifically when it comes to the business side. And I think that's where sports can really provide a lot of value proposition, is that entertaining on that premium landscape to grow businesses, to keep morale up, et cetera. I think that's where a lot of sales, team members with sports teams are in those markets. Like there's a ton of opportunity.
Yeah, no, I definitely think so. Would love to see that thing filled.
Yep. Exactly. You and me both.
Tell me about your current role.
Yeah. So, one of those things, and I'm sure everybody, that's spent, some time in this business, eventually you'll come across a time or two or 12 that, you come across a customer that wants to try to hire you. And, typically it's like, nah, I've got a passion for what I'm doing. I wanted to be in sports. And so when I got down to the Marlins, I had known this guy named Robert Smith. I had met him back when I was at the Pirates, and he had just created a company in dynamic pricing. And we needed some help with dynamic pricing. And so we ended up bringing Event Dynamic in, and, the old cliche saying, if you can't beat them, join them. And so I remember, I started making kind of referral calls for Robert. I'd call out to a lot of my peers, both in the Major League Baseball and really across the world, across the leagues in NBA, NFL, saying, hey, we utilize this technology. You should take a look at it, as he's traveling around. And finally he's like, just come work for me. And, I started diving into it. I dove into kind of what the business plan and what the projections look like for this company. And I remember calling a couple of my mentors on separate occasions and saying, basically, am I crazy getting out of the team side into this vendor tech space? And, verbatim, they all said, like, Absolutely not. This is the future of our business. It's where it's going. And so, go out and kill it. So, I joined back in November. It was a tough decision to make, but it was one of those things that, hey, this makes sense. And so, Event Dynamic, what we do is we specialize in dynamic ticket pricing based on artificial intelligence and automation. And so you can plug right in the primary. And, since then you talk about, opportunity, through COVID, we built out a plan pricer to assist with season ticket pricing. We built out a stadium configurator to assist with limited capacity seating. But, now, kind of my day to day is I'm going out and, reaching out to my counterparts and peers that I've known in this industry for so long and saying, hey, it's kind of an easy testimonial. I utilize this technology. Now I just happen to be on this side, but I actually spent majority of my career on your side of the table. What do you think? Let's take a shot at it. And we've had a lot of success. Our company's been in business about 19 months now. When I first joined, we had 6 customers. We're now north of 40. So we're starting to pick up steam. And I think, probably now more than ever, once we get through COVID time, dynamic pricing is going to be more prevalent than it's ever been.
Working in the collegiate space as well, or just, Yep. Okay.
Yeah. And you really think of dynamic pricing, you really think of any ticket. Right. So it's a variety of sports, collegiate, you can think of movie theaters, festivals, Broadways, amphitheaters, anything that has a ticket can be dynamic priced. So, yeah, so we're plugging in, we're even getting into the international market, and starting to have conversations over there in the international market because it's the same type of thing.
Is the company based there in South Florida then?
So it's actually based in Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
So, I guess you go back to sales, that was probably the best sales, I've made over the last couple months is I convinced the owner to allow me to stay in Miami, which actually hasn't been too bad now because everybody's working from home anyway. But, I stayed in Miami, but our headquarters in Dallas, we have about 20 total people there within the company.
So, okay. So you've been on the team side, the league side, and now, call it the vendor side. Like, what are the pros of each that you like,
Yeah. I think, the pro of working on the team side is seeing the growth and development of everybody, going in and hiring an intern and watching them work them way up to an inside sales manager one day, or seeing somebody that is getting kicked in the teeth in inside sales and can't sell anything. And then all of a sudden become the top seller and the first to promotion. So, and having that one goal mentality, I think is something that, I love on the team side, the training, the development, the constant just pushing each other to be elite, and you're seeing them every day. Yeah. I think on the league perspective, I think what I really gain is, I mentioned this earlier, is just the understanding of all the inner workings of other departments. That's why I always tell people, to be a great leader, what I've learned in this industry is you've got to understand what the other verticals are doing so you can work together and have that one goal. And I think on the league end, that's something, sharing best practices and learning best practices certainly will help me do whatever I want to do. And now in this kind of vendor tech space, I think really the big thing is the entrepreneurship. You've done it, a lot of your career, right? And owning and operating teams. I'd always, I don't know, lack of a better term, work for the guy, right? And so, having that understanding, of the entrepreneurship, you're working for a smaller company. So I don't have, I went from Miami to having, 90 to 100 people to, we've got a 20 total person, team in general. And so you don't have as much of that, but you're learning that entrepreneurship, and you're just learning other areas of the business, understanding what's going to be the best return on investment and ultimately, probably even more importantly, return on energy.
Yeah. Well, and with your experience too, I'm sure, for the company, I mean, it's crucial for them to be able to get your feedback and modify and pivot where they need to, because, it's changing at a rapid rate right now, everything. And now, especially with COVID, you really have to think outside the box.
I sure hope they would say that, but yeah, I mean, that's, in this business, you always talk about, you've got to continue to evolve. And I think that's something I've always kind of given 3 pieces of advice my entire career. And it's passion, work ethic, and coachability, because those are the 3 things you can control, right? You've got to have a passion for your craft and a passion to want to be successful. you got to outwork everyone no matter what. And then you got to be open to coaching, open to learning, because our business just continues to evolve around us. And, I use it as somewhat of a dumb example, but when, I was selling premium seating in Atlanta in 2007, 2008, I still had a flip phone. Some of our listeners may not even know what that is, right? Or say, oh, hey, I see the Razor's coming back. But I still had a flip phone, no internet, no email. You paid per text. And now decision makers are texting credit card numbers, right? You're utilizing LinkedIn as a business tool. So you've got to continue to evolve. And, I'm a big believer, if good things happen to good people, if you put yourself in a good position.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I like too about your podcast that you launched, 52 Weeks of Hustle. I think that's what it's called, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
I mean, at this stage of my life, I want to learn probably more than I've ever wanted to learn. Like, I want to soak up knowledge, and that's why I enjoy your podcast, because you have some highly successful people on there, and just hearing, their journeys and hearing, what success and failures they've had has been good. What kind of prompted you to launch your own podcast?
Yeah, I think I appreciate the shout out, certainly, and I appreciate you tuning in. And I think probably similar to you when you started this this podcast was, hey, I want the opportunity to give back. I mean, that's what I've enjoyed most about my career is I've loved the training and development. I'm always open. Anybody ever calls me, sends me an email, sends me a LinkedIn message, I'm always open to jump on a call and just, let them pick my brain or give them advice or whatever it may be. And so, as it's something I've been thinking about for a while, like, hey, I want to launch this. And then when COVID happened, I started getting a lot of my counterparts and peers like, what should I do with my team members right now? Right. Or team members saying, what should I be doing to invest in myself? And, I thought to myself, I have a really good network. It's something I enjoy doing. So let's go. And, as you're probably thinking about, of coming up with that name, well, one of the things that I've always, drove my career and my passion on is work ethic and hustle. And it comes down to effort. So I thought it'd be easy. Hey, I'm going to interview a person once a week. So, they always kind of joke, how long are you committed to this? Well, I'm definitely committed to 52 weeks, and maybe I'll wait till the Joe Rogan Spotify deal and, take it to the next level,
get
right?
Signed,
but,
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Wouldn't that be nice? But yeah, so that's why I started. I wanted the opportunity to give back to whether it be individuals that, are sitting out there that want to get in this business, whether they're in college or looking for the next opportunity, or people that are in this business. Hey, when you get the chance to listen to really, really successful people and industry leaders, you should probably take some notes, because if you can apply even one of those things to your day, you will be better. And, at the end of the day, I always talk about, like, don't try to be good. Don't try to be great, be elite. And I think that's one opportunity for everyone out there is take this time and take any time to invest in yourself and find ways to be elite.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. We'll make sure that we put the links too in here for people to check it out. Cause like I said, I was listening to the one with, I think it's Michael Ford.
Yep. From the Magic. Yep.
Yeah. So I was listening to that one. So,
no, I appreciate that.
You've got some rock stars on your show. So,
and then you had to end with me. So my apologies.
You're my rock star. What are you talking about, man? Come on.
I appreciate that.
In my heart, you're my guy.
There it is. That's all that matters.
No, man, it's fun. Like I said, my whole career, I've always, since I was 19, I've owned my own business. And it's like, and then I talk to my friends who have been in the sports world or corporate America, and like, I want to be where you were. And a lot of people that are there want to be where I am, in the entrepreneurial, just, their own thing. And, that's really my drive, is to learn as much as I can, because making the transition from where I've been to the major league it's been a challenge for me. And, the size of the deals aren't the same, on the partnership side, for example. Right. I've sold 6-figure deals at the minor league level, at the major league level. I haven't. At the minor league level, I wore every hat, small staff, oversee everything. Yep. Major league, it's really focused. And so, it's in the position I'm in, it's tough because I can't go in at a too low of a level monetarily,
right.
wise.
Right. Yep.
So it's definitely been a challenge, but it's something that I'm committed to trying to achieve. And, I think the podcast for me has been a great way to kind of pick your brain, people like you who have been in the positions that I'd like to be in. And so it's been a fun journey. So,
And that's it, to your point. Like, I think it all comes down to the experience you can gain. Right. And, you talk to a lot of people that want to get in this business. And if somebody says, and I'll tell them 100 times, if they say, what do you want to do? I want to be in marketing. Well, don't start in inside sales. Rarely do I ever see people transition, from inside sales to marketing. Go out and find a job in marketing, and get your hands dirty with everything there so you can become an elite person in marketing world. And I think, that's what, I had the opportunity as an intern in college to work somewhat in the minor leagues, at this racetrack, where I was doing a little bit of everything, right? From concessions to ticket taking to ticket printing to selling sponsorship and everything in between, that really gained, one, what I was passionate about, and that was sales. And two, just a wealth of knowledge of understanding here how businesses are run. And so I think any experience you can get, that's why I always tell people, like, you should always, find opportunities to invest in yourself. Listen to podcasts. I'm not telling you to listen to every one of yours, every one of mine, or every one of anyone else, but listen to some podcasts.
Get a variety.
Get a variety in your life. Listen to podcasts and understand and take something away. Read. I'm a big reader, and I always say you should read as many books you can. I'm not sitting here telling you need to read, a book a week, but read a book a month and try to take something out of it to apply to your day. You will be better, both personally and professionally.
One book recommendation, what would it be?
I think the easiest one is How to Be a Rainmaker. I think for this business, it's short, sweet. If it takes you much longer than an hour and a half, you probably read it wrong. It's a quick read, but it's just key takeaways. Boom, boom, boom. That's one of the books I read early on in my career and love it.
I'm going to check it out. Thank you for joining me, Travis. I appreciate it, man. It was great chatting with you.
Yeah, great connecting as well. No, thank you for your time. I appreciate you having me on, and certainly, best of luck in your future endeavors. I know you have a lot going on, and certainly best of luck with the podcast as well.
Thanks, man.
So, you invest in yourself, so I appreciate it.